I like it.
I love it.
Sad.
Agree.
Share it.
Retweet it.
My feed.
Yes, it's that time of the week where we get a break from our own social media feeds and dive into someone else's. Abby Butler is the community producer at Triple J Unearthed and a TikTok star, and she joins me now. Welcome to RN Drive.
Hello, lovely to be here, Paul. TikTok star.
Yes, we've anointed you. And now, look, one show that has been dominating everyone's feeds this week is the extremely popular South Korean series Squid Game. It's a show about indebted people entering a high-stakes survival game on a remote island in the hope of winning a huge cash prize. Only released a fortnight ago, it's already taken the world by storm, hitting number one on Netflix in an incredible 90 countries, including Australia. Now, you've just finished binging the show, I understand, so no spoilers, Abby.
No.
What did you make of it?
Wow. I mean, it's got to be one of the most engaging shows that I have seen in a really long time. I just run through whatever Netflix, shows on its algorithm. And this show caught my attention from very start to very finish. For one, it's in Korean, so it's got subtitles, so you really need to pay attention. It's not a show where you can glance at your phone and sort of take a break. You're engaging with every single element of the show. The aesthetics are colourful and bright, and the story is so unbelievable. Every twist, every turn, you just can't believe what you're watching.
So I was watching the trailer this morning. Let me know whether I've got this, because I'm basing it on the trailer. Kind of looks a bit like Hunger Games meets Parasite with a kind of large degree of Tarantino-esque violence.
I would say that's a very fitting description. Yeah, all of those elements are included. And I think, again, with the fact that it's a Korean drama, it's not something that many of us are used to watching on our screens. So I think it's the perfect show for that end of lockdown where we've all, watched a bunch of shows, engaged in a bunch of media. And this is just something that is truly incomparable to anything that you've seen before. It's unreal.
And a bit like Parasite, it does delve into the kind of class dimension that plays out in a country like Korea, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's also applicable to all of those 90 countries in which this show has gone number one in. There is something to grab onto regardless of, your socioeconomic status. I think regardless of the fact that the show is so unbelievable and so fantastical, there's these really grounded characters that you genuinely care about that carry through the whole show. And I think that's really the winning aspect of Squid Game.
And how did you deal with the high degree of violence in the program?
I think it's bad to say, but I think that after watching, so much throughout lockdown, you get a little bit desensitized to the stuff that you're watching. But I think that the violence in Squid Game, it's not an unnecessary sort of violence. It's not just for show or to grab your attention. There's meaning to it. There's you're believing in these characters, and when these terrible things happen to them, it really hits you. So I think, the violence is definitely hard to watch. It's not a show that I think you could binge in the sense of watching the entire season in one sitting. I know that my housemate had to take a couple of breaks because it is very intense. So I would recommend going in with knowing that.
Yeah, it's one of many shows that we're seeing actually on the streaming services coming from countries other than America and England, the traditional source of drama, and coming from countries, in other languages. Interestingly, it's become so incredibly popular, this show. Do you know what it is, or you've got any thoughts about why it's captured people's attention?
I think it's just so easy to talk about, and there's so many parts of the show that you sort of put your own self into. You imagine, if I was in these characters' positions, would I make the same decisions? Would I take the same actions? Would I play the game in the same way that they would? And the entire time I've been watching, I've been messaging friends, and I've been, on TikTok, on YouTube, watching all of the reactions to it. So it's more than just watching it. You really get involved and engaged with the entire show as a whole.
And will it be a gateway for people to explore other K-dramas, do you think?
I really hope so. I know that there are another couple of shows in a similar vein. Alice in Wonderland, I think it may be called something, or in Borderland, I think is the name of it. But yeah, I hope that it opens the gate to other, not only Korean dramas, but shows in languages other than English being platformed on these massive streaming services like Netflix, because as it's shown, the audience is really into it and wants to see it.
Yeah, who would have thought, hey, that we would get so many dramas coming from kind of atypical countries into Australia, and it would prove so popular. At least there's some cultural diversity on Netflix. Who would have thought that a few years ago? Let's change gears a bit. A very quick food hack is going viral on TikTok. Why is a microwave salmon rice recipe proving to be so popular?
Paul, when I tell you that this video of 29-year-old TikTok creator Emily Mariko making just lunch out of her leftovers is one of the most satisfying videos I've seen throughout all of lockdown. It is, as I said, this young woman, she takes some salmon out of her fridge, she takes some rice, she microwaves the rice, she mixes the salmon and the rice with some sriracha and mayo, and then eats it with avocado and dried seaweed. And it's become one of the most popular food trends in the last little while. It's got over 30 million views and she's gained millions of followers from, her just making her leftovers.
Yeah, well, so, I'm a bit of a fan of, searching out recipes online and on social media. But the curious thing about this recipe is that she's putting an ice cube on the top of the rice before it goes in the microwave. Did you get to the bottom of that?
I think that's one of the most curious elements. Everyone is so entranced by this video. They're unpicking every single part of it. They're thinking, why does she flake the salmon that way? Why does she, mix it with dried seaweed? But one of the biggest questions is, as she cooks the rice, she puts an ice cube on top of it, puts some parchment paper over the rice and places it into the microwave. Maybe it's to moisten the rice. Maybe it's to, bring some more flavor to the leftovers. I do not know, but who knew that such a simple video could ask such big questions?
And it looks pretty tasty, the meal itself.
It really does. I think that all of us, going through the last 18 months are just wanting some really easy to watch in attainable content. It's very there's a lot of content where, usually you'll see people traveling to incredible locations or doing amazing stunts. This is just a girl making lunch and you watch it and you go, I could do that. That's attainable for me. Now, in music news, rap megastar T-Pain has had a very strong reaction to Triple J unearthed gem and Sydney artist Gregor McMurray. Let's have a listen to that.
I really like this. I like this a lot. You better not this up, Gregor. Oh my God. Yeah. That was amazing.
Abby, how exciting is this?
Yeah, so T-Pain, the rap megastar, has a Twitch stream online where he encourages young artists to post links to their music and he reacts to it. And one of those artists was Sydney producer Gregor McMurray. He is a regular uploader to Triple J Unearthed. He threw his link into the mix. T-Pain reacted. And as you heard, he was pretty impressed, which is a huge stamp of approval for a local Sydney artist like Gregor.
And one would imagine a very big boost to his career.
Yeah, I've heard that he's had a bit of contact from a lot of local big guns in the Australian music industry wanting to get involved. And as you heard in the little clip there, even T-Pain was saying that he wants to get in touch and he's liking what he's hearing. So hopefully there's big things in the future for Gregor McMurray.
Yeah, does it nudge it onto the Triple J playlist as well?
Look, it probably helps getting the T-Pain tick of approval.
I'm sure it does. Before we go, Abby, what are your recommendations or your main recommendation for the weekend?
I would say the You're Wrong About podcast, specifically their Princess Diana series. So You're Wrong About is a podcast from Michael Hobbs and Sarah Marshall. And basically,
I love this podcast. Fantastic.
It's great.
Yeah.
They unpack, the media's representation of certain events and how that affected public sentiment. And then they sort of unpick why that representation was incorrect. And they go into Princess Diana across 5 1-hour episodes, and I just devoured it in the span of about a weekend. It goes through everything from the courtship of Princess Diana and Charles all the way through to the crash and sort of the conspiracies that floated around in the media. So I would definitely recommend You're Wrong About podcast and their Princess Diana series.
Yeah, look, I think it's worth diving deep actually into that podcast. There's so many interesting episodes. Thanks for taking us through your feed.
Thank you, Paul.
Abby Butler is the community producer at Triple J Unearthed and, as I said, a TikTok star. This is RN Drive.